Shalom. It's your brother Samat coming to you once again with another lesson. Giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and double honor to our elders and our apostles of great millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. All right, so today's lesson I kind of wanted to talk about pretty much just remaining temperate and playing a long game. You know, you want to play the long game, and you don't want to be so you don't want to always be so short-sighted, I want to say, right? You kind of want to put yourself in a position to where you're thinking long-term, and you have to. Because, you know, it's called being prudent and circumspect. Understanding that, okay, you know, prophecies are coming to pass. You know, there's a lot of things going on in the mainstream and behind the scenes for those that are on their watch. And, you know, you're kind of, you know, you're able to pretty much put the times together and things is making sense, right? But when you see these things, right, and you're thinking like, damn, okay, yeah, prophecy's coming to pass, you know, kingdom coming soon. That's our hope, right? And that's our faith. But you can't be so wrapped up in that hope that you make decisions that hurt your current self. You know, and this is the thing, right? Like pass up on certain opportunities, or you know, making poor financial decisions. You know, just saying, you know, having that, being in that the effort spirit. That's not the spirit you want to be in. All right. So, you know, granted, when you first come into the truth, right? I'm pretty sure this happened to most brothers when we first came into the truth, right? You know, you made a lot of those sacrifices, and you made a lot of poor decisions and passed up on opportunities, and you know, you were in that effort spirit. Why? Because you were youthful, right? You didn't have much wisdom or knowledge. You know, you just thought, oh, the world's about to end, the kingdom's coming, yo, we in the end days, and you just make moves based on that. But you know, that ultimately, I was listening to the brother Kazak, and he was talking about it. He made a beautiful point, you know. And I used to always think about to myself, like, damn, why did I make these choices when I first came into the truth, man? If I would have just had the knowledge I had now. But, you know, at the end of the day, you can't think like that, because the Most High had the Spirit on us to make those sacrifices and to essentially do those things and put ourselves in a hole, if you will, or a rut. And it was all for a purpose to build us up, right? To teach us. That's how you learn, you know, through our experiences and things like that. You know, some men had the privilege of being taught by older men, but even then, you know, I truly believe that a lot of times, just in it's a very hasteful nature that we have when we first come into the truth, that we tend to make certain decisions, even if we have good counsel and guidance, right? It's a part of the game, right? It's the spirit the Lord put us on, brothers, so that we can have our own experiences, you know what I mean? And it's beautiful, because, you know, I could look back and I can think about the decisions I made, and I made a lot of short-term decisions, you know. But all in all, it's shaped me into the man I am today, and give me the experiences I have. Pretty much, they give me the mentality of understanding, and it's like, it gives me the mentality of temperance and understanding and being prudent, right? And that's how you get wisdom, because remember, wisdom is applied knowledge. Wisdom is applied knowledge. Okay, you can gain knowledge by reading a book, but you don't become wise in it until you start actually doing it, right? You can read a book on electrical, right? Residential electrical, you know, and then you think, okay, I know, you know, the voltage and this and this and this, but then the moment you actually get in real life and you open up that panel and you start trying to take wires out and, you know, upgrade and doing all this stuff, you realize, like, oh shit, I really don't know what I'm doing. Because you run into problems, you run into things that might not have been in the book, things that you don't gain until you get real life experience. All right, and that's pretty much the point. It's like being temperate and playing the long game, understanding that, yeah, we hope for the kingdom. We don't have a continuing city, right? But we seek one to come. Like, this is not our rest. We understand these things, and we pray and hope for fewer days, and we pray and hope for the kingdom. But I'm not going to say but. With that being said, we also have to make sure we're remaining temperate and balanced, because a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, man. All right, you can't be too just gung ho on one side and neglect the other, right? You know, that's how people in the world are. People in the world, a lot of times, they have a false balance. You know, I think that nowadays we're coming into the culture, and the culture of being more healthy and fit, as well as being wealthy, like, or having money, right? That's the thing. But the point I was making is that majority with the time that you see is people in the world have a false balance. They'll be so heavily chasing money and riches that they neglect their own bodies. How many times have you seen a rich dude scoffing, talking shit, or an old Edomite that's just fat, out of shape, decrepit, but he's got millions of dollars? It's like, what virtue is having millions of dollars if you ain't got your health, man? What good is having millions of dollars if you don't have your health, man? So it's a false balance, man. So that's why the motherfucker driving up a one-way street. What are you doing, bro, in this fucking weather? So like, that shit just threw me off. It's like really snowy and icy out here in Philly. But what I was saying, damn, made me lost my train of thought. It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. Damn, I really just lost my train of thought. But you know, you get the point. The point is to be temperate and to have good balance, man. You know, or like, yeah, I was saying, like, what good is it to have all these riches if you don't have your health? You know, you've stored up so much time and energy and effort into obtaining money and riches that you neglect your own body. But us as men of the Lord, all right, we take care of our temples. Why? Because it's ultimately the blessing of the Lord, man. The Lord gave us these temples and these bodies so that we can serve Him. That's ultimately what we are. That's what you got to realize. This life is about sacrifice, man, and duty. In the life to come, or in the world to come, yeah, we'll have prosperity and we'll have desire and joy and fulfillment, right? In the world to come. But this world that we're in now is for duty. The wicked, all right, it's for the wicked to essentially to do what they want, because it's their kingdom, right? The wicked rule. But for the men of the Lord, those Israelites that are called by Yahweh Shai's name, all right, you men, you sisters, all right, your life is to be duty. Is to be a duty and sacrifice. Yes, you can have little pastimes and little enjoyments, and it's cool, as long as you have a good balance and your eyes are on the prize. As long as your eyes and your heart is always on the prize, you'll be all right. You know, you'll be okay. You just don't get distracted and thrown off course, man. Especially with the things the world has to offer, man. Satan will try to sift you, man, any way he can. You know, whether it's through temptation of good things, or it's through afflictions. You know, because sometimes afflictions pull people out. I've seen it many times. So, you know, that's pretty much the point, is to remain balanced and temperate, so that you can endure. Right? We're running a marathon. Right? You have to pace yourself. You have to run at a pace that is sustainable. That's why it's having balance, right? It's literally what it is. Like when you're a runner, like, you literally have to have balance between speed and sustainability. It has to be a good balance between the two. You have to know when to pick up the pace and when to slow it down. And then you have to know what's your average pace that you can maintain for the entirety. And then you know it's the last few miles of that race, you pick up that pace, man. And we're coming into the time where we are to pick up the pace. But even with that, you still have to find your average pace, okay? Don't compare yourself to another brother or sister and looking at what they're doing and trying to match their pace, they may genetically they just have a different spirit, man. You know, they've been training longer, so their endurance is a little bit better. You know, or they might just some people just genetically have advantages, man. It is what it is. Life is not fair. There is no equality, man. Not in the literal sense, right? But that's pretty much the point, man. I didn't want to make this too long. It's kind of a little spiritual rant, going into temperance and endurance, because what you see a lot of time, what you see going on a lot right now is that you see men and certain brothers or believers of different camps pretty much losing stride, man. They're losing stride, and they're starting to fall subject to a lot of different temptations and doctrines, and because everybody's trying to sprint, man. Everyone's trying to make a name for themselves and be seen, but that's not what this thing is about, man. This thing is about duty and serving Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Ecclesiastes 12:13. The whole duty of man is to fear the Lord and to keep His commandments. All right, so Lord willing, this video is edifying, quick to the point. Until next time, shalom.